Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. My name is Kairin Adli bin Kamaluddin. Today, I will talk about on the introduction of building development process. Okay, as we can see, that building development process is about improvement or process validation to and continuous validation and process to any types of control requirement. We can identify any critical and key process parameter that should be monitored and controlled. Development process is usually performed first on individually unit operation.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Fatihah binti Muhammad Rosli. I will talk about land or site in development process. In development, when client have project, client must have land or site first. For choose the land, client must know the purpose of the project and the land must show the appropriate the purpose of the project. For example, when client wants to build a mall, the land or site as needed must be in area that have many people. And next is client must know the category of land to use for the constructions. Land have three categories. That is agriculture lands, building lands, and for the last is industry lands. For the constructions, client must can use for building lands and industry lands. Other than that, client must know the condition and looks of the land or site. Land for the constructions must be strong enough to accommodate the foundations as well as the building to be built. Therefore, to do the constructions, land or site must be test or survey first. This test or survey is to determine the suitability of soil for the constructions to be done. The tests that are always done such as moisture content test, dry density test, and compaction test. Land on site to be used must follow the government's law. For development, the lands must be approved. Client must submit the applications to use the lands to be approved to the local authority. Also, client or developer must apply land subdivisions before the development to get the title for the land. Land surveyor will be hired for the measure and survey the lands. As you can see, this is the process to apply land subdivision for the title for land. First application received by land office and file registrations, submit to administrative, refer to technical and back to the land office. Next is issuance of approval and payment notice. Next is title registrations and payment made. And for the last is issuance of new title of land.
Okay, for the next is planning. First of all, we need to understand the project objective. They must have specific and measurable and must meet time, budget, and quality constraint. Okay, for the next is identify the project stage. There are 5 phases of project management, which is project initiation, project planning, project execution, project performance, and project closure. Okay, next point is prepare work break for down structure. A work breakdown structure is a key project deliverable that organizes the team works into manageable sections. Next is determine logical sequence of activity. Sequence activity is the process of identifying and documenting relationships amongst the project activities. Next is estimate time and resource requirement. Time estimate drive the setting of deadlines for delivery and planning of the projects, and hence will impact on other people's assessments. Time estimates often determine and pricing of contract and hence the profitability of the contract project in commercial terms. Next point is allocate responsibilities for each activities. Technical responsibilities, execution responsibilities, communication responsibilities, and staff responsibilities. Last but not least is finalize project plans, which is a project plan is finalized when it formally accepted and approved by the project sponsor and other designated stakeholders. Formal approval acknowledge that all the deliverables produced during the plan stage are complete, reviewed, and accepted.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Hainis Nasuha binti Ayub and I'll be presenting about the traditional procurement. Traditional procurement remain as the most commonly used method of procuring building work. The traditional procurement routes involve separating design and from construction. The client first appoint consultant to design the project in detail to ensure cost control and inspect the construction work as they proceed. The contractor's responsibilities are workmanship, material, and work undertaken by supplier. The contractor, however, is not responsible for the design. So for the traditional procurement, it is usually under a lump sum contract. This will allow the contractor to accurately price the work they are being asked to carry out. The traditional procurement method, for the first method, is the client will appoint a consultant. Consultant will retain control over design and quality. Consultant also responsible for valuation and payment for the agreement. The second method is the contractor will then submit the tender. The contractor generally has no design duties, but if this is necessary, some aspect of a project, the contractor should include a clear wording to this effect. The third method is an adequate time before tender. There must be a time to allow the production of a complete set of drawing and other documents. This means that these routes are slower than other routes. The next method is contractor will submit claim if they did not receive necessary timely instruction and information if changes are made. Last but not least, the traditional method or adaptation of it can be used with approximate quantities, provisional sums, or costs where the nature of quantity work cannot be accurately defined. For design and build, what is design and build? Design and build procurement work on the basis that the main contractor is responsible for undertaking both the design and construction work on a project for an agreed lump sum price. However, the level of design responsibility and input from the contractor is much greater on design and build project than with a contractor design portion. Adequate time must be allowed to prepare the employer's requirement as well as time for the contractor to prepare their proposal and tender price. It is important that the proposal match all the employer requirement before any contract is entered. The employer has control over any design element on the project, include the requirement, but once the contract is let, responsibility of the design is passes to the contractor. The employer has no design control. The contractor can carry out the design in numbers of ways. Often they will appoint their own consultant to use their own in-house team. It is also a common practice for the contractor to take on the employer consultant and continue to use them to complete the design under what is known as novation agreement. There are two types of design and build contract, which are package deal, where the employer accepts a proposal based on a standard design from the contractor. The other one is design and build contracts. This is where project documents are compiled with the contractor design's obligation relating to the whole of the works in mind.
Hi, my name is Ilyas Hafizi bin Adham. I'm from AP 229-3C and my message number is 2020-458 and 898. So I will explain about number 4, party involved, which is consultant. So consultant's role is to help clients make some preparation for their upcoming project, which is they will help clients about the cost estimating, draw budget, selecting contractors, with admins, construction contractors, and solve the problem in building construction. So a construction consultant work in various aspects of the building industries. This includes project management, contract, surveying, architecture, analysis, construction management, and so on. So basically, the client can appoint a consultant which is can the consultant can guide or explain the client about the building project that they carry out from start to finish, and this also can prevent a client fooled by anybody in the building construction. So second one is some offer that the consultant can make to the client, which is firstly is a perfectly clear definition of the project and what it entails. Second one is advice and guides on how the project should be set up. And next is development and coordination of the project design. The next point is collecting and preparing the product information and documents for the tender. And the last one is inspection and correction of construction work. So the next topic is a one-stop center. So one-stop center was established recently. It was established around 2007 if I'm not mistaken. So this established happened because of the all system for the people to do with the authorities is very unattractive. So the government took action to set up an OSC, which is or to set up a OSC or one-stop center to make it easier for the people to deal. So I will explain one example, which is an application for land approval can be made to the OSC or one-stop center. There are three alternatives that people can deal with OSC, which is first alternative is for application, which is for land matters, development order, building plan and earthwork plans. And the second alternative is three application, which is land matters, development orders, and building plans, or three application, which is a development order, permission building plan, earthwork plans. And the last alternative is combination of second alternatives that I just said. So next is a step of process of the land application approval at OSC. I will explain more easily about the application of land approval process. So when the client application received by land officer, the file is registered, and the next step is submit to Administrative and Diplomatic Service Association. Then refer to technical department for comment. Here, when the application have amendment or something wrong at the application, the client need to make some correction to make sure the application is true and follow the rules. So the next is back to land office. After back to the land office, land and mines office will make a meeting if required. So the next step is issues of the approval and payment notice. Once payment are done, the title restoration are made.
So for the first one is tender. What is tender? It is a submission made by prospective supplier in response to invitation to tender. It make an offer for supply goods and services. There are 5 types of tender, which are open tender, selective tender, negotiated tender, two-stage tender, and serial tender. The first one is the open tender. In this tender, the detail will be proposed, project, and advertised on the internet. The advertisement would include detail on the type of project and its anticipated program. Contractors that are wishing to tender will reply to that advertisement and receive the tender document. Any contractor that is interested may apply to the document. For the document, auto fee may be charged. Once completed, all tender will be returned by the stipulated date and time. The second tender, which is the selective tender. In this tender, it will only allow suppliers to submit tender by invitation. A pre-list selected list of possible suppliers is prepared which are known by their track record to be suitable for contracts of the size, nature, and complexity required. Consultant or requirement may obtain the approved list on the prospective suppliers appropriate for particular type of contract and then regularly review the performance to assess whether they would remain on the list. It tends to be faster than open tendering and can be seen as less wasteful as there is no pre-qualification in this type of tender. Only suppliers that are known to be appropriate are proposed for the contract are invited to prepare the tenders. It can also give a client the greater confidence that the requirement will be satisfied. However, with this tender, it can exclude smaller suppliers as it will be biased into tendering firm that may exclude approved list for unknown reason. The third tender, which is negotiated tender. This tendering occurs when the client approach a single supplier based on their track record or previous relationship and the term of the contract are then negotiated. The negotiating with a single supplier may be appropriate for highly specialist contractor or for extending of the scope and of an existing contract. It can give the client the confidence of working with a supplier they already know, and it can reduce the duration and cost of tendering and can allow early supplier involvement. Negotiated tender can be seen as anti-competitive and exclusive with the potentially for cozy relationship. The fourth type of tender, which is serial tender. This tendering generally involve the preparation of tender, which is based on a typical of notional bill of quantities or schedule of work. The tender document will generally define the building that will be covered by the work, the term over which work may be required, an estimate of the likely total value of the work that will be required over the term, and estimated of likely size of individual orders. Payment are then calculated based on agreed schedule of rates. Serial tendering can reduce tender costs and may encourage suppliers to submit low rates to secure an ongoing program of work. However, it can be seen as anti-competitive and exclusive. Last but not least, it is the two-stage tendering, which is a method of procurement where the employer seeks to appoint a contractor at an initial stage of the project based on the outlined scope of work. It is designed to achieve the early appointment of contractor on the basis of agreement to undertake the pre-construction services, with the intention that the parties will ultimately enter into a lump sum contract. Two-stage tendering will enable the client to transfer the design risk to the contractor. However, the client will lose leverage as the contractor becomes embedded in the team and competition is less of a threat. However, whistle tender prices for two-stage contract may initially be higher than single-stage tender, which are subject to full competition. So for the tender process, the first process is to determine the tendering type to be used, whether it is open tender, selective tender, negotiated tender, serial tender, or two-stage tender. The second is to prepare requests for tender. The document may be different according to the organization. However, the common element must include description of the goods and services to be produced, procured, the condition of tender. This stipulates the term and requirement that must be met. The evaluation criteria outlines the submission access and evaluated the submission content and format on specifications relating to the length of submission, file format, presentation, and others. The process rules and information includes the deadline of the submission, when and where it should be submitted, and the condition of the contract indicated, the general or standard term and condition of the contract. The third step is the tenders are invited. Must identify the organization and government agency, contract contact organization registration with tender information service. The next procedure is the supplier response must obtain all relevant documentation. Attend the pretend briefing session, clarification, prepare response and submit to the response. The fifth procedure is the evaluation and selection. Each of the standard will be evaluated for compliance, determine compliance with any condition of participant, launch on time, the document are signed as required and meet mandatory requirement. Last but not least, the notification are debriefing the successful tenderer, will writing outcomes, and unsuccessful will be advised and offering debriefing interview. Formal agreement will be required between successful tenderer and agency.
For the construction stage in development process, they have 3 stages. For the first is pre-construction stage, and next is during construction stage. For the last is post-construction stage. In pre-construction stage, also have 3 stages. For the first stage is design stage. In design stage, they have meeting with client, consultant, and also project team. Project team, that is architecture, CNS, and also M&E. Next is drawing will be collect and review. After that, drawing will be approved by the clients and also approved by local authority. They also prepare the consolidate budget and also prepare the tender document. In tendering stage, they do the shortlist of contractor and they conduct the pre-bid for the contractor, and also they collect tender document to compare all the contractor, and for the last they select the correct contractor for the project. For the last is contract award stage. In this stage, they will prepare the contract document with the drawing approved by the client, and also they will collect all necessary documents such as project schedule, cash flow statement and all, and also issue the document contract with the selected contractor. For the last, they will conduct the meeting at the site with the consultant, client, project team, and also the selected contractor. In this construction, there have activity during constructions such as preliminary, demolitions, excavations, foundations, finishes, external works, and more. And also, contractor will prepare and arrange the material, equipment, and also workforce team. Consultant will prepare the schedule and planning as per the requirement from the client. And also, consultant or project team will conduct the progress review meeting in regular interval. Contractor must submit the monthly report or other report to the client and also to the consultant. For the most important, client or project team must do the site examinations to check the progress of work, also the quality work at the site. For the last stage is post-construction stage. In this stage, contractor and consultant must submit as-built drawing, all bills, and all the reports after the project finish to approve by architect. Next is process defect liability period will begin in 12 months or 24 months to check the defect at building. If building have a defect, contractor will be responsible to repair. After process DLP, certificate making good defects will be proceed in 3 months to cover all the process DLP. And also, in this stage, architect will be take care the CPCs, certificate of practical completions for the contractor. Final account process will be proceed, and for the last, hand over all the key document, contract, warranties, and certificate to the owner. Thank you from me. We'll be proceed with the next slide.
For CCC, it stands for Certificate of Completion and Compliance and is a new term introduced by the Street Drainage and Building Amendment in 2007, which came into force on April 12, 2017. The CCC is a new term that is replaced to the Certificate of Fitness for Occupation (CFO). The new system of CCC is based on self-regulation and is issued by the private sector. The responsibility is transferred from the LAs to the professional, which are architects, engineer, and building draftsmen of the project. It is seeks to provide better protection for house buyer, cut red tape, and accuracy and bureaucracy in local government. It is also to create a more efficient public delivery system. So, for principal submitting person, the CCC will be issued by the principal submitting person (PSP). PSP is a professional architect, engineer, or building draftsman who submit building plans to the LA for approval. He must be registered under the relevant law relating to the registration. The PSP responsibilities include submitting building plans for approval by the LA and supervising the erection and completion of the building in conformity with the approved plan and the requirements of the provision of acts or by law, ensuring all the technical conditions imposed by the LA has been duly complied with, and ensuring that the building is safe and fit for the occupation. 6 essential services for issuance of CCC, which are confirmation of electrical supply (TNB), confirmation of water supply (water authorities), confirmation of connection to sewerage treatment plant (JPP), clearance from Lease and Machinery Department if applicable (JKP), clearance for active firefighting system except for residential building not more than 80 meters high (bomber), road and drainage requisition by local authority. Local authority may inspect the building site at any time on its own initiative or due to the complaint. In event of failure to comply with approved plans, the act or bylaw in erection or construction of the building, the LA may issue to the PSP a written notice requiring compliance within a period specified in the notice as the local authority think fit. A directive in writing to withhold the issuance of CCC until such non-compliance have been rectified. The LA may itself cause any work to be executed or any measure to be taken if it considers such work or measure is necessary to rectify the non-compliance of its directive, and the cost should be borne by the owner of the building. The LA is also responsible for approving permission of planning application and building plans, pressing charges against the PSP and professional, and reporting to the relevant professional board inspection of all building, and continuing to issue CFOs for project approved by the CCC state of enforcement.
So for the conclusion, development process steps may occur without sufficient awareness of existing operations, and early awareness of the financial scale of manufacturing and its potential constraints is essential for successful process design. Two above-mentioned interdependencies have been realized over the years, and companies have developed management frameworks and associated workflows to assure that potential effects of technology change of process optimization are minimized. To manage this, companies have introduced decision points in their upstream process development by considering the impact of any key process variable. A higher TTIR may lead to gain in product quality. It may also lead to unfavorable change in the impurity profile of feed material entering the preservation of operations. Thank you very much.